Hello everyone and welcome to the class. This is David A. Cox with PCClassesOnline.com. Today we are live right now. We have an audience tuning in from all over the world, but for whatever reason today we seem to be mostly the UK and the United States. I haven't actually seen anyone from outside of those two countries, but I'm sure we do, and they just probably didn't respond. For any of you out there who are watching this class after the fact on YouTube or on our website, feel free to ever attend one of our live classes. We are a completely free public service. There are no hidden fees of any kind. Just ask any of our members. You can find out all of the information, of course, on our website at PCClassesOnline.com. Now, today's date is, I just took a look at the date. It is January 3rd of 2015. It's the future, people. And this is the final class that we're going to be teaching on iPhoto because iPhoto is about to be discontinued and replaced with a new program that is rumored to be named simply Photos. Now, I have one contact, one insider at Apple, and I'm more than happy to have more than one insider if they reach out to me. Hint, hint. But my contact at Apple asked me to pass on a piece of information today to all of our followers, which is to say that if you are watching this class either live right now or if you're watching it soon into the future, and if you're thinking about cleaning up your photo library, something that a lot of us have on our inevitable, eventual to-do list, he said hold off. And one of the things I like to ask our members to do is when the new photo program comes out, please consider allowing me like a good 12 to 24 hours to play with it first, just to make sure that it's bug-free. And what I always do is I will e-blast all of our members. And if you're not on our mailing list, and for those of you on YouTube, you may not be, go to our website, PCClassesOnline.com. If you scroll to the very bottom of the homepage, there's a simple little form that you can fill out to get on our e-blast list. We usually send out one e-blast a month. And no, we do not sell your information to anyone of any kind. So if you do that, you'll be notified whenever there's these kinds of announcements that are out there. But according to my contact, he says do not, if you're going to do a lot of organizing, do it after this new program comes out. Don't do it before. And of course, when that program does come out, I will have a class fully produced and online within 24 hours of it being released publicly. So today we are, of course, talking all about iPhoto. iPhoto is probably the most popular application that comes with the Mac. It's a great application for organizing and doing basic editing and touch-up to your photos. And so we're going to really cover this in depth today. So I hope you're ready. So those of you at home, you might want to have a pen and paper handy in case you want to jot down any notes. So the first thing we're going to talk about is organizing. So if you look here at the top left, there are four essential libraries here. We have events, photos, faces, and places. Now, not everyone out there uses all of these. I will just let you know right now, I don't use personally anything other than photos. And then the other kind of way you can get around it is you can create a custom album, which of course we'll be going over how to do today. So if you have been kind of struggling with events, you don't have to use it. In fact, that's part of why I don't, is I just find it so much easier just to use albums that I custom create. So let's go a little bit over this. I think we should probably actually start with the preferences of iPhoto, since that seems to be, in general, with our classes, a good place to start. As with every program on the Mac, you get to iPhoto's preferences by clicking where it says iPhoto, and the second item down is preferences. Or if you're a hotkey kind of guy or gal, you can also use Command, comma. I hate when people call me during a live class. Okay, so here we are on the general settings here, okay? And a lot of this, kind of the way it comes is just fine. You can tell it if you want when it connects your camera to automatically open iPhoto. Personally, I don't do that. I find it to be kind of annoying, so I choose no application. Part of the reason why I guess I do this is, and I'm sure a lot of you out there may be similar, I use my iPhone as my primary camera. And as you'll see in some of the photos that will inevitably come up today, I also take photos with an aerial drone. But with that, I'm on my computer. That's what I'm there to do. I'm there to edit those photos. So I don't like iPhoto launching every single time I plug my phone into my computer, so I choose to use no application here. It seems to save an annoyance. Another thing here I want to make you all aware of is a lot of people don't know that this is here. So when you go to email a photo from iPhoto, in the past, this is how it was set up. It would talk to the Apple Mail application. And I personally like that. But the other option is to use iPhoto. And the problem with doing that is you lose a lot of the features that you have with your mail program, like really being able to customize the look of the email. So personally, I actually really like using the built-in mail application for sending photos. There's a little trick I need to show you about that, which we'll go over in a little bit. Here on appearance, okay, you can kind of change the overall look of iPhoto. You can make the background black or white. I like it kind of gray right here in the middle, so I'll just keep it that way. And then just like kind of a bunch of silly little things here, which I don't choose to use. iCloud, okay, this is a feature I do strongly recommend using if you want to make your life a little bit easier. So what this does, there's a few places where iCloud needs to be set up, and I'll show you all of them here. I find it very strange that one doesn't trigger the other. It's a weird thing. So what this iCloud integration offers is the ability so that, for example, when I shoot a photo with my phone, immediately it goes to my computer. Actually, once I open iPhoto, within a few seconds, it downloads immediately into iPhoto. I don't have to connect anything. I don't have to plug anything in. It just does it. In order to get this to work correctly, you need these here checked. Photo sharing you can choose to use or not. I never really use it, but it's checked there. This is, for example, if you wanted to share your photos with family and friends. The one word of caution is if you decide to use this, make sure you don't accidentally take a less than appropriate photo. You all know what I'm talking about. The other feature you have to turn on for this to work is you have to go here into the Apple menu and System Preferences. And in here we have iCloud, if you look here on the left-hand side. And Photos here also has to be checked. Okay, I find it very strange. You would think that just checking this would enable all of those options in iPhoto. It doesn't. And I don't know if that's a bug or what. Anyway, that's that. Accounts, okay? So, by the way, I always like to mention, these are all fake email addresses. Don't bother emailing them. Thank you. The next button here is Accounts. And so this is iPhoto's ability to integrate with other programs. Now, this one for your email is only important if you decide to send photos from within the iPhoto application. So the setting that I just showed you, where was it? Over here, where it's going to use the mail application, bypasses this need. So you don't really need to worry about that. But if you want to post photos to Facebook, let's say, directly from iPhoto, you would need to hit the little plus button down here at the bottom left. Okay, these are the 3 different types of accounts you can share with: Facebook, Flickr, for the 1% of you out there who actually use Flickr, or email. And you hit add. And just make sure that if you ever change, let's say, your Facebook password, you have to do it from within here too. Otherwise, it's not going to be able to post. And finally here, we have advanced, let's see. You probably want to actually set it up like this so that look up places is set to automatic. Okay. When you edit photos, you'd probably want to keep that within iPhoto. Some people out there still use Aperture, but iPhoto is easy enough to get it done. Also, definitely make sure that you have this option here checked, importing. Copy items to the iPhoto library. Now, that is set to be checked by default, so don't worry if you are just kind of going into this for the first time. Here's where that's important, and it's a good trick to be aware of. Let's say you have something on your computer, just like a photo that maybe you download through email. Let's see if I even have any photos in my downloads folder, which I believe is now on monitor 2. Yes, it is. Okay, so this is my shared folder that I just used for moving around the video files for this class. So let's just take this as an example. If you have either a photo in your downloads folder, or let's say you have a folder of photos. Not everyone knows this. You can actually drag it right into the iPhoto icon, and it will import it. Okay, and yes, once again, that also applies to folders of photos. Where that can really be handy is when people are switching from PC to Mac. Usually when you do the migration assistant, it just puts a ton of photos in your actual Photos folder. So this place right here. And it's all you have to do is select everything and drag it into the iPhoto icon. And when you do that, iPhoto is going to create a copy of the image. So at that point, you can delete, the other copy that you have, and it just kind of keeps everything nice and clean. Another little trick I might as well just mention for those of you out there who are photo nuts, especially if you do a lot of emailing back and forth with photos. One thing you might want to check out, we have a class that we offered not even that long ago on a application that is made exclusively for the Mac called Hazel. And Hazel was actually brought up recently when I was doing a class on Automator. And one of the features that you can do within Hazel is you can tell it whenever it senses a photo in your downloads folder, which is typically where it would go if you're downloading it from either email or the web, you can tell it to automatically just bring it into iPhoto and then delete it. It's a pretty cool, handy little tool for the Mac. So you might want to check that out. Whole class on Hazel is available, of course, on our website or our YouTube page. So when you drag photos into iPhoto, they go here into this library, okay? Another feature I would like to show you, especially if you're new to this stuff here, is go up here to where it says View, Sort Photos, and just make sure that these settings fit your liking. Because sometimes I've been working with people and they just see their photos all over the place, and it's because it's not arranging their photos by date, which is how most people seem to like it. And I choose to use ascending, so that way that means the most recent photos are on the bottom, correct? Yes. Most recent photos on the bottom, oldest photos on the top. Okay. So just make sure you have that set up correctly. And if you like the reverse, just change it from ascending to descending. Pretty simple stuff. Now, the other feature, the big part of iPhoto, is the ability to edit your images. And by the way, just for copyright reasons, I should probably mention, yes, all the photos that you see here are mine. I have legal rights to use all of them. And I live in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, so hence why they're all from Cape Cod. So let's go over some of the very basic features of photo editing. Let's see, what's a good photo to use? We'll use this one here. This is just down the road from where I live. So when you double click on a photo, it becomes full screen. And if you look down here at the bottom right-hand corner, we have 4 buttons. We have Info, Edit, Add to, and Share. Not the singer. Share as in share with friends. Info just basically gives you some info about the actual photo. For example, you can see up here I shot this with my Nikon back before I kind of switched to exclusively using an iPhone. The size of the photo, in this case it's a 4.2 megabyte image. It's a JPEG formatted image. It's also in this space where you can rename the photos. So the top part here where it says DSC, that is the actual title of the photo. So if you want to be able to search through your photos by just typing in keywords, this is one way that you can do it. You can just type in, in this case this is referred to as Captain Jax. And I apparently hit the caps lock key. All right, so you can punch that in. You can also add a custom description if you like. And if you want, you can put that there. These can show up if you go to print them on your computer. I'll try to remember to bring that up at the end. Faces here we'll talk about later on when we talk about faces. You can also give it a rating. If you look here, it might be a little tough for some of you to see this, but there are 5 grayed out stars here. So you can rate your own photos, and that way if you wanted to ever search and say, just show me the 5-star photos, you can very easily do that. Simple. There's also an area down here to assign a place, and this is especially helpful. You really won't need to add this in manually. If you do shoot your photos with an iPhone and some other DSLR cameras, it'll actually tag the location, so you can see approximately where you were standing when you shot that photo. It's kind of a cool feature when it comes time to creating slideshows, that kind of thing, but personally I don't use it that often, I have to admit. So to edit, that's the next button here, Edit. And we have 3 different types of editing. We have quick fixes, if you look here at the top right, effects, and adjust. That's where you get into the nitty-gritty. The first thing under quick fixes is rotate, but I would like to give you an easier way to do this. Command R will rotate your photo. The other thing where this is really handy is, let me double click on this photo so that it goes back to thumbnail size. If I have a bunch of photos here that are all the wrong way, one thing that's a good thing to be aware of that you can do is Mac users, well, of course you're all Mac users, if you hold the Command key on your keyboard, you can select multiple items. So bear with me here. Pretend these are all rotated the wrong way. When I hold the Command key and click on each one of them, they all highlight. So now if I hit Command R, it's going to rotate all of them. And it just keeps doing it until you stop. Okay, good trick to be aware of, especially for those of you with older cameras. That can be a problem where it won't figure out what's the right way up. Enhance is a very simple one-click, hey iPhoto, what do you think is going to make this photo look better? So let's give it a shot. Usually what it does is it just increases the shadows a little bit, it ups the contrast just a titch, and also I believe it ups the saturation. Yep, so basically what I just said. So you can see it kind of brought out the blues, it brought out the oranges, especially over here. So that's one trick that you can use. Another very, very important hotkey. Let's do a quick quiz here for those of you who are live right now. Anyone remember the hotkey for undo? Very important when you're dealing with photos. Let's see who's going to be first to answer. Alec wins the award. Command Z is the way to do it. So if you decide, you know what, this really doesn't look quite so good. Yes, technically there is an undo button here at the bottom right, but it's good to be aware of your hotkeys, people. Command Z will go back a step, and the more times you hit it, the more steps it'll go back. Fix red eye, we can't really use that right now, but when you click fix red eye, it's going to attempt to do it automatically. If that doesn't do it, you have this little slide bar here where you can drag, and you want this to be the size of the pupil. And so then you just kind of punch in on the photo and click on the person's pupil. The only problem I tend to have with fix red eye, and I'm sure a few of you out there have the same issue, you can leave a comment in the section below for those of you who are not live. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but whenever I do fix red eye, inevitably the person ends up looking high because their pupils are the size of saucers. So anyways, that's just what I find. Straighten, which is great for if you don't have the best balance or you just had one too many glasses of Chardonnay at that wedding. Click straighten and it puts a grid over your screen. You have, once again, a little slide bar here, and you can just drag and it will actually punch in and rotate at the same time. That way you don't have this kind of oddly shaped photo. The trick that I like to use for this is I like to use the horizon as my guide if I have a horizon in the shot. So be aware of that. Crop, I think we can all figure out what that is. When you click crop, you can move any of the corners and readjust the whole size of the photo. The other option is you can constrain it here to meet one of these pre-made sizes. So if it's going to be, I don't know, for a book, okay, it'll make it that size. That was a horrible idea, but an 8x10 would probably be a better example. So, for example, one of the things I like to do, I tend to recommend to my clients when I'm working with them, I say, don't get a color printer. Who really needs a color printer? That's why I always recommend the in our store, the PC Classes online store, I have a Brother printer that I recommend to everyone because it's so much cheaper to just take your photos, put them on a flash drive, and go to CVS or Walgreens or whatever big drugstore you have near you, and they usually have those little kiosks, usually made by Kodak. Throw your flash drive into the machine and you print it that way. It's much cheaper. It's much more, you get better quality. But one of the things that's good to do with this is you can make sure that it's the right proportion for what you're going to be printing on. So if I'm going to, have this big photo, but it's only going to go on an 8x10, it's going to end up cropping out part of the image. So by doing this ahead of time, I can tell it exactly what to do. Another thing I want to mention about this, which I might as well bring up now. One of the features about iPhoto, this gets technical, but I'm going to try to make it very simple, is that iPhoto, when you add a photo into the iPhoto library, in the back end of iPhoto, it goes into a section called Originals. The second you start to change it, whether it's just hitting Enhance or removing red eye, within iPhoto, it is actually creating a duplicate so that it can start modifying it. At any point in time, you can always go back to the original. If you look down here at the bottom, it says revert to original. Doesn't matter if I quit out of the program. It doesn't matter if it's years down the road, unless you switch from iPhoto to the new photo program that's inevitably coming out. But you can hit revert to original, and it will always go back to the original settings. Just know that when you click that, any enhancements that you've made are gone at that point, unless you hit undo, I suppose. Retouch. Retouch is really handy if you are like me and we're not exactly blessed with world-class skin. Let's see, that one's already been enhanced to death. No, not totally. Yeah, never blessed in the good skin department. Hit edit, retouch. All right, so this is a little bit like, for those of you who are familiar with Photoshop, it's like the Band-Aid tool. So once again, we have a little slide bar here, and when you click and drag, it will increase or decrease the size of the brush. Usually with retouching, you want to keep it small and do it several times rather than try to paint with broad strokes. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to zoom in to this photo. Another really important hotkey, Command plus. Oh, come on. Oh, is that really? There we go. I'm just going to use my much better. I thought you had a... I'm using my touchpad at this point now, so I just decided to do that instead. Yeah, I've already touched up this photo, I can tell. All right, there's like a little splot right here. So if you just click on it, it will basically blend it in with all the other pixels around it. Like I said, you're better off using a smaller brush when doing this and doing it several times rather than trying to get, a big brush that covers the whole forehead and just do it in one click. Okay. Good thing to be aware of. Let's get out of that. And way too close an image for me. Okay. For those of you who are curious, yes, that is my real eye color. No, I don't wear contacts. Effects is the next thing we're going to talk about here. So this will basically just in one click kind of give you a different look to your image. So here we have lighten. So the more times I click lighten, the more it's going to lighten my image. And wow, that's overblown. End of the world overblown. Undo, revert. Okay. Darken, I think we can all assume what that does. You can change the contrast here. Personally, when it comes to contrast and saturation, I really like to use the adjust tab here because that way you can get really, really precise with it. The bigger part that people seem to like about effects is this lower portion here, where with one click, you can go black and white. Or you can go sepia tone if you want to give it that old black and white look. Now my eyes look really crazy right there. Antique, and with some of these, you'll see how there's like a 1 right here. If you click the little arrow to the right of it, it's just going to intensify the effect that it has. See, now I look like I'm from the 1800s, still with very, very freaky looking eyes. Go back, revert. Matte will just kind of give you white edges. Vignette is basically the opposite, so it'll darken the edges. Edge blur, I find that, undo. Edge blur, I think, is great for, romantic couple photos. It gives it that romantic feel to it. So if you want to jazz up the romance, you can do that right there. Fade effect, boost, or none, which will just go back to the original. And finally here we have adjust. Okay, the combination that I find is best for most photos is just to add a little bit of saturation. Okay, so now I'm getting an instant tan. Yippee. Okay, actually, even though I hit avoid saturating skin tones for whatever reason, it doesn't think my skin is skin. You can enhance the shadows just a little bit. That way, any of the dark spots in your photo will just be brightened up a little bit. And I usually just tweak the contrast just a little bit. And I find that between those, it seems to do a really good job on most, not all, but most photos. But here you can also play with the exposure, contrast, definition, highlights, shadows, sharpness, denoise, and you can change the color temperature or change the tint of the photo. So all of those features are right there. That's your basic editing within iPhoto. The next feature we're going to talk about here is Add To. So one of the really great features that I love about iPhoto, and I recently had one printed up, and actually some of these are the photos that I used for it, is you can create these really great projects within iPhoto. So much better than you get with anything like Picasa out there. I have a lot of people who are on PCs who are like, oh, don't you love Picasa? No, I don't. And there's a reason why we don't have a class on it, because once you've tried iPhoto, you're not going back to Picasa. Add to. So you can create an album, very, very simple, a slideshow. You can add it to iCloud. But these are the really cool ones. You can create a photo book, a photo card, or a photo calendar. And the calendar's what I had recently produced of some of my drone shots of Cape Cod in it. I have to say, it actually came out really, really nice. They're not the most inexpensive calendars or any of these really in the world, but the quality is amazing. It's so much better than Vistaprint. Sorry, Vistaprint, but that's just my opinion. In my opinion, my lawyer's going to kill me once again. In my opinion, it's better than Vistaprint quality. There we go, covered. Okay. So if I wanted to do that, let's say you want to create a calendar. Let's just do that as an example. Obviously, 12 months, you can actually do more than 12 photos, that being said. You would select the photos that you want to work with. In this case, I'm just going to drag over all of them. But Mac users, again, if you hold the Command key, you can click on multiple photos and select them all. You're starting to see a few others here. So once you have your photos selected, and by the way, you can actually select more photos than you end up using, but you just have to tell the computer what ones do you want to have considered for this calendar. You highlight them, go down here to Add To, and we'll, in this case, hit Calendar. And we'll hit Create Calendar. So it goes to this, you have all of these different templates that you can use for creating calendars. This one right here is just the simple picture calendar. It's a very, very clean one. This is the one that I had done, which is big date, just if you like those big, big numbers. You can see here, these are $19.99 each, or $1.49 for an extra month. What, is that for like Movember or something? I don't know. I have an American education, so if there's other months out there, it is completely a possibility there are more than 12, and I'm just too stupid to know it. But you have all of these different templates that you can choose from. And as you'll see here, as I flip between them, you get a little preview of what they look like. I find ones like travel to be a little too animated for me. I really like to focus on the photography. So let's go back to just the original one, which I believe is right there. And when you have it selected, hit Create. And you can see here, you can choose, of course, what year do you want it to be for. You can have it automatically add in national holidays for your country. After all, PC Classes Online has an international crowd, so I know we have let's celebrate our UK fans here. So we'll do UK holidays. The other thing that's nice here is if you do use your calendar on your computer, and let's say you have a calendar that is devoted to birthdays, okay? You can have your friends' birthdays printed on the calendar for you. Hell of a lot easier than having to, go in and type them manually. So you can hit check birthdays right there and hit OK. By the way, in case you're wondering, since I'm sure a few people will wonder about this, see how it says birthdays twice? Okay. This birthdays that shows here usually refers to Facebook. Whereas here, it's only if you manually entered it into your contacts, which probably no one does. So let's hit OK, and let's create a calendar here. So when you do that, and all of the other projects work the same way as far as cards or books. It will automatically lay out the photos, but if you don't like it, don't worry, you can always swap it out. So let's start here with January. Okay, I'm just going to double click. Okay, it zooms in. I can scroll down so I can see here, the different, let's see, what's this? Robert Burns Night? Y'all have some funky holidays in the UK there. I have no idea who that is. Anyway, but it'll automatically add in those holidays. But I want to show you a little trick here that I think you might really like. I'm going to actually go back to Photos, and let's scroll down. Look at my parents. Okay, there's my folks. I'm going to click on this photo, and even though I've already started this calendar, watch this. I'm clicking on their photo. I'm going Add To, Calendar, and I'm going to add it to the calendar that I've already started creating. Okay, and so now when I go here, if you look at the left-hand side of my screen where it says Projects, I'm going to go back into it. So let's pretend, it's not, but let's pretend that my parents' anniversary is January 7th. I want to show you a cool thing that you can do here. So if you look at the bottom right corner, see here we have layout, options, and photos. I'm going to click on photos, and that just shows all of the photos that I selected, including the one that I just added. Check this out. You can also drag a photo onto, what I say, the 7th, a date. It's kind of an interesting way to remember someone's birthday or special anniversaries like that, is instead of putting the name, put the photo. It's kind of a cool little feature there. Thought you might like that. And by the way, there's no extra charge to do that, even though you're printing more ink. You know, what's a couple pennies to Apple, right? So that's a little trick I wanted to show you here. Also, you can double click on a date and you can type in something manually. So don't worry if you don't have something on your calendar. You can go through month to month and type in whatever it is you want here. Okay? Under options, we have the different, options for the different text. So if you don't want to use Gill Sans, you can switch it up and go to Futura, which is not a great font. Personally, I'm just a fan of plain old, it's not even, Arial's not here? Really? How is that possible? Times New Roman. There we go. Good old classic Times New Roman. You can change up, the spacing, all of those things here, and you can choose change everywhere, and that will affect the entire calendar. So if you want to make that, if you want to make that setting, you can. Also in here, you'll find your calendar settings. Okay, right down here. Oh, that went onto screen 2 for some strange reason. That is just simply the first settings that we saw when we started up, where we told her what calendars to add in. Layout, okay. Oops, layout we can't see until we go back. So let's go back to all pages. So you can go through here and you can really start to play with your different photos. Another feature I want to show you here, let's go into November, is with some of these templates, you can have it be more than one photo. And that's where layout comes into play. In this particular one, we can have up to 7 photos per month. At 7, it starts to get a little cluttered. I wouldn't recommend doing probably more than 2, maybe 3, but personally, I'm a 1 photo kind of dude. So, but you'll see here, even with 1 photo, there's an option to put in a caption. So if this photo was taken special memory, some sort of occasion, you'll see if you look here at the bottom, it says insert a description. So you can just click and type in whatever you want. And when you're done creating your project, you hit buy calendar. In this case, it's $20. That's US money, by the way. And they'll ship it right to your home. And like I said, the quality is top notch. So you can check that out. It's a really, really fun little project. A couple other things I want to show you here. Let's talk about events briefly. Again, I am not a big fan of events. I find it to be really just a pain in the butt because most of this is done, it is all done automatically. Let's say you go on vacation, and just work with me here, people. We have a bunch of images that I shot when I was doing a promo video on the iPad Air 2. So I have a bunch of photos here, and you can see it's separated each of these photos into a different event. One of the things I wanted to show you is that if you want to combine events, you can simply drag and drop one event into the other to merge them. And then if you want, you can hit Don't Ask Again, and that way you can just kind of bring them all together. So if you're going on vacation, let's say you go on a 1-week vacation, each day is going to be a different event. So if you want to merge them all into one, you just take each day and drag one into the other, and then that into the other, and so on and so forth until you're done. There you go. Faces. Let's talk about this briefly. I find faces to be kind of cute, but personally don't really care much about it. It takes a lot of time to organize this feature. I'll use yours truly here. So the way you enable faces, there's a few different ways you can start off doing it. I'll just go here into faces. And if you look here at the bottom, towards the right, it says Find Faces. Okay, so it's going through, oh God, those are some interesting faces there, right? This is me trying to look like Stephen Colbert. It'll go through and it'll ask you basically who are these people, and it's going to try to use facial recognition to kind of group them all together. And the idea with this is that when you're done, you can just click on someone's face and see every photo that they're in. It's not perfect technology, people. I have had lawn gnomes in the back that the Mac thinks that I apparently look like, which does amazing things for your confidence to say, hey, you really look like that rusty old lawn gnome. Wow, I guess that Neutrogena isn't working too well, huh? So you can kind of explore that on your own. but I really don't find it to be very, very helpful. Here's where it is kind of cool, though. I will give them credit for this one part, though. If you go through and you do this, you don't have to find every single photo that someone's in. But when you go through and you tell it, okay, this person is, in this case, me, okay, it is going to try to match that information with that person's contact info, which is in your address book, your contacts program, formerly known as address book, now known as contacts. So what's cool about this is that if you do tell the computer whose face is whom, I don't know. What it will do is when that person calls you on the phone, it'll use that photo as photo ID. So instead of just their name popping up on your iPhone, it'll be their photo along with their name. So that's a cute little feature that you can choose to explore if you want. Places. Again, Places is really only helpful if you're shooting with an iPhone or an iPad, I should mention, or an iPod Touch. I don't think anyone has that anymore, but it will it's called geotagging, where it's going to note the location of wherever you are. So that's kind of a cute feature. And in this case, you can see where I've been standing around in Provincetown so that you can all stalk me. And I can double click and it'll actually zoom in and I'll be able to see, where I was. If I hit the little arrow next to it, there are the photos that I shot right there. It's definitely kind of a cool feature if you're traveling. I'll give them that. The only thing I would like to warn you about in terms of using Places here, if you're traveling internationally, this is a problem a lot of people run into with their cell phones. I'm about to take a trip internationally myself. Make sure you turn off cellular data. Otherwise, you can rack up just a crazy amount of fees without even knowing it. I've heard some absolute horror stories, including one client of mine that I think racked up like $2,000 in data charges. And the funny thing was he wasn't even using his phone for calls. He was just like taking photos and was uploading his photos to iCloud, but it was on international data plan. So it got really, really expensive. So it's a cool feature, but I would only use it if you're in your home country, personally. Next here, we have kind of quick album shortcuts like the last 12 months, the last photo you imported, flagging photos. We can go over that real quickly. A lot of times if I'm shooting a lot of images, I usually don't keep all of them. I usually kind of go through each and I find what are the best photos. So let's say, pretend this is all one photo shoot, okay? The easy way to flag a photo is Command period. The other way you can do it, which you probably just saw, is if you put your cursor over the photo, there is a little flag up here at the top left. Okay, so it's just kind of, you're just tagging the photo. That's all it is. It's not going to change anything. So if I go through and I said, okay, that's a good shot, that's a good shot, I'll start to use Command period here instead. Okay, if you look over here on the left-hand side, now there's a number 4 next to flag. So that way I can see what photos I've told the computer, hey, these are the best. And typically what I would do is I would say, okay, now let's take the best photos here and let's share them to Facebook. Something like that. But flagged is it's a temporary thing. And when you're done, what I always recommend doing is hitting clear. So hit clear flagged. Otherwise, you start to get old projects mixed in with new projects. So it's a good idea to just kind of keep that separate. We don't have anything printing right now, but you can, of course, print from iPhoto, and it'll give you these, different dimensions here. You can do a contact sheet if you're printing multiple photos. By the way, if I had selected multiple images, okay, I could print more than one, whatever you want. I find it much easier to just go to File and Print, just the good old-fashioned method. But like I said, if you're going to do this, consider using a kiosk, because printing at home is so outrageously expensive. You know what? Let me do this. I don't normally do this. Let me go slightly off topic just to mention something here regarding printing photos, since I know a lot of people do this. Printer ink is, I think, among the top 3. I could be wrong about this. Among the top 3 most insanely marked up items out there. You can walk into a big box store and they will practically give you a printer. Okay, because they know they're going to make up their money in ink. And one of the tricks a lot of the printer companies are doing these days is they'll sell you a printer and then you open it up and it's got 5 ink cartridges. And some of them won't even print if one cartridge runs out. So it's really not a good idea to get a cheap printer. If you are going to get a photo printer, what I would recommend, I'll put a link to this in the description of the video. I'll also put it in the PC Classes online store. There is this cute little printer called the Selfie, which I can't remember if it's made by Epson or Kodak. I want to say Epson. A client of mine has one, but it's just for making like 4x6 photos. But it's cute. I think it's under $100. But for the most part, I wouldn't even recommend doing that. Just take your photos, put them on a flash drive, go to a kiosk, get them printed there. It's so much less expensive. Another feature to save your marriage or relationship, you should know that there is a trash within iPhoto. It does not clear itself. You have to do it. So this is my cockatiel. That's Crackers, by the way. And yes, he does talk. So when you are in iPhoto, if you hit delete on a photo, which the easiest way is just click on it and hit the delete key on your keyboard, okay? It does not go into this trash at the bottom right corner of your Mac. It goes into a separate trash can within iPhoto. From here, go to the top right corner and hit empty trash. Okay? Done. Bye-bye. And I believe those actually do go, yep. Those actually then do go into the trash here within your Mac. So even once you've hit empty trash here, you still have to hit empty trash down here to actually clear them out. Next here we have an easy way to get to your photos that are in iCloud. Okay, so again, if you have an iPhone or an iPad and you shoot a photo, it's the easiest way to transfer the photo automatically into your computer. This is also part of the reason why I recommend getting a paid iCloud plan, even if it's just $1 a month. A lot of us like shooting photos, and it's nice to be able to access them wherever you are. Some of you may have this or may not. Oops, it's not going to really show that. But it will connect in with Facebook right here. So if you have, and this is a great way to get more photos into your computer that you don't have necessarily on your local hard drive, is you can connect iPhoto in with Facebook. That's once again just by going up here to Preferences and going into, Accounts, okay, and putting in your information here. So all the photos that I've, put on Facebook, you can see here I've actually taken the time to kind of organize them into different albums. So those are all right here. And no, you will not find any drunk photos of me. I'm not that kind of guy. Next thing, we'll skip over this here, albums. This is how I prefer personally to organize my photos. Is so on, for example, on my iPad, I think my iPad is only like a 16 gigabyte iPad. I didn't really need the biggest and the best for that because I have a giant iPhone. What I choose to do is, instead of telling the computer that I want all of my photos in my iPad, I really just want the ones that I actually care about. So here's what I do on my computer, and this is a demo account for those of you who haven't figured that out. You go here to File, and by the way, make sure when you do this, make sure you're not clicked on a photo. So just kind of click in this little gray space here. Go to File and go to New Album, okay? And you should probably get this little pop-up message, and it says, you are aware that you're creating an empty album. Yes, that's exactly what I want, and hit Continue. So now if you look here on the left, it says Untitled Album, so I can type in whatever I want. And what I actually do is I have an album on my computer called Best Photos. Okay? Now there's nothing in here, so we have to do it manually. So let's go up here to the photo library once again. And what you can do is you can manually drag and drop your photos into this album. So let's take that. Oops, wrong one. There. Let's take that. Let's take this one of the lighthouse. Okay, and that way I'm just creating a custom album here of just only what I care about. I can still get access to everything through the photo library, but I only put what I care about in my albums. And then what I would do theoretically from here, I don't have my iPad here, but I would plug in my iPad to my computer, and in iTunes, when your iPad plugs in, it shows up in iTunes, I would tell it to only sync this selected album. And usually also, of course, my iCloud data. But that's it. That way I don't get a million photos. I just get the ones that I actually care about, if I want to share with a friend, while we're hanging out, something like that. So that's a little bit about albums. The other thing you can do here, if you like, you'll see here I actually have a folder here. So let's say you have a lot of photos and you need some serious organization here. What you can do is you can create a folder, maybe for like 2015, and then you can have an album for January, an album for February, or however you prefer. In order to get in a folder, it's the same process. Just go to File, but instead of New Album, just do New Folder. Okay, so I can call it 2015. And now if I want to move best photos into 2015, maybe I want best photos of 2013, best photos of 2014, best photos of 2015, I can just drag and drop one into the other. So you can see it's now a sub-album of this folder. Okay? Pretty simple right there. So that's a little bit about that. Let's talk about some of these sharing options here, since that's what a lot of people love to do is share their photos. So when you click on a photo or multiple photos here, okay, you can go down here to the share button at the bottom right corner, and there's a whole bunch of different ways you can share your photos. You can send it out through an iMessage or text message now if you have Yosemite. You can email them, of course. If it's not in iCloud, you can send it to iCloud. That is an option. You can tweet it out. By the way, my Twitter is @TheRealMacGuru. I should probably change my identity at some point. I never use Twitter. Flickr, Facebook. We have these options here to create a book, card, calendar, slideshow, album. You can print it, of course. You can also have Apple print it. The downside to this, I found their photo quality, I've used it several times, to be really good. I don't find it to be significantly better than going to a CVS, let's say. That's one of our local drugstores here in the United States. But the other problem with that is you have to pay for shipping, and that's kind of a bummer. So even though the cost per photo is pretty inexpensive and pretty competitive with what you'll find at a kiosk, as soon as you factor in the shipping, it's kind of not so reasonable. I think it's $5 for shipping, at least within the United States. And who knows if that's going to be around once this new photo application comes out. So that's a little bit there. Let me go to my notes here. One of the things I wanted to mention, a very, very common question that I get from people all the time is a lot of times I'll hear from people who have a ton of duplicates that are out there. There's different pieces of software to help you sort through them. The one that I would recommend, let's see if I can find it real quick. It's this right here. It's called iPhoto Library Manager. And what I will actually do is, if you look in the description of this video, I'll put a link to both the software itself and also a class that I taught on how to use it. It is software. It's $29, I believe, but it will go through your photo library and pretty intelligently pick out all the duplicates and figure out which one is, let's say you have one version that's touched up and one that's not. It'll know that the touched up one is probably the one that you want. Most of the time. So I would use that if you have that kind of an issue. Let's see here. Another thing I want to show, I think I saw someone in the chat here was asking about this, was about how to print photos with titles on them. There's no great excuse me. There's no great way I found to do it, because in order to do that, it does mean that you're basically going to be printing at home, and most people, their printer isn't as good as, like I said, a kiosk. If you decide to do that, you're going to want to go here into Info on the particular photo and rename it. So we'll call this Cemetery. And I put in a little description too, so you can see that there. Okay. Now, that, even though you don't see the information here on the photo, it is there. Whenever you rename your photo or you put in a description, this is referred to as metadata. So it's just information about that particular image. So if I go here to File and Print, I want to show you what I can do here. God, I thought I remembered where that was. Is it Custom? Shoot, they've changed the layout here. Cancel. Hold on, folks. I remembered how to do this before. We've added that. If anyone here in the live class remembers this part, you're more than welcome to remind me. See, this is the fun when you record live. I could have sworn... Oh, I wanted to say it was in here. No. Shoot. All right. Let's see here. In the chat window. There used to be, I know there is a way to have the title printed here. I may have to put that. Here's what I'll do. If I don't remember it by the end of the class, I'll put a reminder of how to do that in the description of the video when we produce this and put it on YouTube and our website. So I'll be sure to do that for all of you. I don't want to waste everyone else's time, though. Another feature I'll show you briefly is the slideshow feature. Once again, you can do this by selecting whatever photos you want. Go down here to the slideshow button at the bottom center of the screen. And this is for creating an instant slideshow, and it'll just play it. Okay, so you can see here we have all sorts of different types of, hopefully those of you who are here live can still see this right now. It has all these different types of themes that you can use. Personally, I'm a big fan of the Ken Burns effect. You can choose different music. I can't actually play this for you because this class will be tagged for copyright infringement. You can also go here into settings and you can tell it exactly how long you want each slide to play for, or you can tell it to fit the slideshow to fit the music. A lot of times I find that to be better. You can choose what kind of transitions to use. Dissolve is a very non-offensive type of transition. I like that one. A few other options here like showing the title cards, showing captions, and then you just hit play when you're done. Unfortunately, I can't show you that because I don't want to get my hand, anyways, I don't want to get in trouble. So that's that portion right there. Let me go through and kind of see what questions people have here. I'm just looking at the chat window. How do you move photos into iPhoto without drag and drop? Well, I don't know why you wouldn't be able to use drag and drop. I mean, you can do file import to library. That is one way to do it. That was from Larry, by the way. So if you do that, you just have to tell it where is either this folder of photos or an individual photo and hit the little import button right there. Let's see. How do I move my iPhoto library off my computer? Great question. This comes up quite a bit because a lot of people out there, the MacBook Air, for example, which is what I have, by the base model doesn't come with a lot of storage. And for people who like taking photos, that tends to be the big item that takes up all of the space on their hard drive. I don't really recommend taking the photos off your computer unless you really know what you're doing, because the rule with data loss or data backing up your data is anytime you have data that's in only one location, it is one location away from being gone. So if you're going to put it on something like an external hard drive, make sure that you have a copy of that external hard drive, like a second hard drive, for example. Another trick I will share for those of you especially for those of you with a MacBook Air. Give me 1 second to pull this up. Where did Safari go? There we go. Little trick that I learned a while back. Now, I max out my computer every time I buy a new one. Let's go to PC Classes Online. If you go to our website, there's this little gadget that I want to introduce you to. If you go to the store, for those of you who are outside of the United States, you're going to have to, unfortunately, just kind of remember the name here and go to your local version of Amazon. If you go here into, I believe it's miscellaneous gadgets in our store, and I want to say it's page 2. Please, 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 please. Yes. There's these two little, technically 3 little gadgets right here that are really handy for adding additional storage to a MacBook Air. So what these all do is they take advantage of the SD card slot, which is on the side of your computer. This is also available in the MacBook Pro. It's also available in the iMac, but the iMac comes with such an outrageously giant hard drive. Most people never use it up. But what you can do is, I have this one here, the PNY Store Edge, cute little play on words, and you slide it right into that little slot. It's relatively flush. Depending on which exact model, it might stick out by like a centimeter. But you can add an additional 128 gigs of storage to your computer. The other thing that's really nice about these is these are waterproof. So if you drop it in a puddle, well, if you drop your computer in a puddle, your computer is going to be, sorry. But this should be okay. Also, the other option is the mini drive. and I actually also have that too. And what this does is allows you to take a micro SD card and you can put it into your computer. I believe on the current MacBook Air, this will actually sit slightly more flush than this. The difference is that you need two devices here. This mini drive is just the kind of the casing. You still need a 128 gig micro SD card. So that's that little trick right there. Thought I'd share that with all of you. Okay, let me just kind of go through here and just see if there's anything else I forgot that I wanted to make sure that we went over. Oh, here's another kind of cute one. A lot of people with their desktop background, they don't like using the stock photos that come from Apple. They like to use their own photos. So there's a couple of tricks that you can do to make this happen. So if you only want one photo to be your desktop background, you can just simply click on that photo. I'll use that one right there. Go up here to the Share menu item up here at the top of your screen, and the last option here is Set Desktop. So when I click that, you can see now that's my desktop image. But if you want it to kind of be like a slideshow, there's another way to do that too. What you have to do is actually create an album. So let's just grab a few more photos here and just drag those all into Best Photos. And if you want to do this, you'd go into the Apple menu, System Preferences, Desktop and Screensaver. And if you scroll down, see it says iPhoto right here. If we scroll down a little further, there's the 2015 album, Best Photos. And now all you have to do is check this option right here. Change picture every however often you want. I never recommend doing less than 5 minutes because with that starts to eat up a lot of memory in your computer. You're best off with either every 5 minutes, 15, 30, or any of the other options there. So if you want to do that, that's kind of cool. You can also tell it to go in a random order. That way it kind of mixes it up there for you. And that about does it. So what I would like to do at this point is I'm going to end the class for the people who are tuning in after the fact, either on YouTube or Facebook. I'm sorry, YouTube or our website. Quick thing I want to mention briefly is if you want to keep in touch with us, check out our common videos. There's a little subscribe button that you can hit. I'll throw it on the screen right now. If you click that, you'll just be notified when we come out with new classes. It's the easiest way to do it through YouTube. Also, check out our website, and that way you can take our live classes. Those are also completely free. And what I'm going to do right now is just kind of hang around for an extra little while, answer the questions for people who are here live, and we'll see you soon. And also, please leave us feedback. We really, really like feedback. So, there's comments below. You can type in, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what we can do better. All feedback is good. Just keep it positive, people. We don't like haters. This is David A. Cox with PCClassesOnline.com. Thank you for watching today. Please be sure to check back, especially when the new photo application comes out for the Mac, which is rumored to be later on this month, which is January of 2015. Could be next month. But within 24 hours of it being released, I will, of course, produce a full-length class for all of you. That's all for me, everyone. Class dismissed.